The upper back is essentially the foundation of what we're pressing off from, right? So this guy needs to be nice, strong, stable, nice and tight. What's going on, guys? Coach Kags here with my boy Ron. Today we're gonna run over how to bench press, how to set up, how to execute, accessory work, and some assistance work as well. So we'll get right into it. With the bench, I like to start with the feet up. So with the feet position, a lot of people think this doesn't matter, but a lot of power you can generate actually comes from your legs. Ideally, we either want to keep our feet flat on the ground like Ron is, or you can come up onto the balls of your feet. We want to set our feet up behind our knees. The reason for this is a lot of times you'll see people kicking out. That's their body trying to use that leg drive. So we want to make sure we can use that power into our bench press. So we want to set up behind our knees, and that way we can generate that power into our knees. And that power is going to go into our glutes. So in terms of the glutes, we want our glutes grounded on the bench the entire time. This is going to allow us to use that power from the legs, but also create a nice stable base for us to push off of, right? So once we have the glutes set on the bench, Ron, I'm going to get you to lean back on the bench here. Watch your head. Perfect. Next, we're gonna move on to the upper back. The upper back is essentially the foundation of what we're pressing off from, right? So this guy needs to be nice, strong, stable, nice and tight. So you really wanna think about the lats here in this part, really squeezing the lats, getting that chest up, those shoulders back, and really squeezing down as much as you can. When you do that properly, you're gonna get an arch right around here. So I'm able to stick my hand right through the small of Rounded's back right here. When you do that, you should have a nice proud chest here. Your glutes and your upper back are in contact. It's gonna create a bit of an arch. Now that we're nice and tight in the upper back, we can look at our grip. For most people, just outside shoulder width is a good starting point. Some people can go really wide, some people can go really narrow. It's just kind of personal preference, but just outside shoulder width is a good place to start from. In terms of our hands, you wanna line the bar up across your palm. You don't want it way back in your fingers. You don't want it way back in your thumbs. That's just gonna put a lot more strain on the wrists. And it's also not gonna allow us to generate that force through our forearms into the bar, right? So Ronit has it just long as palms here. Ronit, I'm gonna get you to unrack the bar. A lot of people, when they unrack, they're gonna lose a lot of that tension that they just created. The upper back is gonna round the other way. We're gonna lose that arch, so now I can't stick my hand through. So what we wanna do when we unrack, so I'm gonna get you to rack the bar again, is to keep that nice tight upper back position, nice and tight. The chest is gonna be proud. You're gonna push off as much as your elbows can let you. So Ron's gonna push off there. We're still nice and tight. Take your time, don't rush this part, right? You wanna make sure you're nice and tight. From this position, we're gonna bring the bar down to the chest. As you're bringing it down, you wanna think about meeting the bar with your chest. You don't wanna let that chest collapse and cave in. You wanna keep that chest up, keep that upper back tightness. Ron is doing a really good job here, and we're gonna press up, right? From here, you want to press up nice and tall. You want to make sure you're not overextending here as well. A lot of times people will overextend and lose the arch that they create. So now we've overextended past our range of motion and we've lost that arch again. So you want to make sure you only go as far as your elbows let you. Perfect, that arch is nice and tight. We're pressing the entire time. Breathing is also a really important part of the bench press. That's where you're gonna help create a lot of tension within your belly, within the core, and that's gonna carry over to the force being produced into the bar. So what I usually recommend for most people is take a big deep belly breath, hold that for the entire rep, blow out, and then take another breath before your next rep. This is gonna make sure you're nice and stable, making sure you're creating a lot of tension through the core, and that's going into your bench press. So that's covering the basics of the bench press. Rounded, is there anything you wanna add?
So I got a couple things to add. I think Kags mentioned really key points in terms of meeting the bar, which I think is one of the biggest things I used to not do before, where my upper back used to just lose that tightness. So don't let that bar just sink into your chest. Keep that chest up as the bar is coming down, meet the bar, right? That's gonna maintain a lot of tightness, and you'll also get a more jacked chest, right? Which is obviously the intention here. And the second thing, big point being leg drive that Kags mentioned in the start, like making sure you're pushing into the ground, and think about pushing down and away while your glutes are also tight as you're pushing up, right? So you're gonna develop like this counter force. As you're pushing into the ground, the bar is getting pressed up. So you can get a more jacked bench, right? But I think Kags mentioned basically everything else, and those are two main points. A couple ways you can improve your bench, especially like if you're struggling at the bottom position, you're stalling right here, add a tempo bench or a pause bench, meaning that you just pause at the bottom, spend more time down here, and then learn how to push off, right? You do like, you maybe add extra day where you just bench and do the tempo and pause bench, and over time get stronger on that, and you'll notice it carries over to your actual bench, right? Because you're able to get used to pushing off. And the second part people usually struggle with is at the top, the locking out. So that's usually some tricep work. But again, if you add something like a closed grip bench, now you're getting that tricep work, but you're also getting into position where you have to lock out, right? So as you get stronger in that, it should improve that lockout, right? And the third thing is you want to maintain tightness and stable shoulders and everything. So number one thing I would suggest is make sure you're adding some rowing movements where you do like a pause, right? So you pause at the back, and what this position looks like right here is the same as on upper back tightness on a bench press, right? Pausing back here. So when you add more rowing variations, get strong at rowing, you'll be able to create the upper back tightness much better. And the last thing I would say is make sure your shoulder stability is key. This could easily be first, but make sure you add stuff that's like overhead. So just do an overhead tricep extension, 3 sets of 15 for example, and then maybe a low incline or like an X tricep push down. So you're getting your shoulders stable in this position, and you're also getting jacked at the same time. And the last thing I would say is, I think we already all do this, is some sort of dumbbell pressing, right? Just so you put some meat on your chest, because more meat, more mass, you can push more mass, right? So keep it simple, add those exercise variations throughout your training days and see your bench improve over time. And just be patient and consistent, and you'll get pretty jacked. I hope everything we talked about today helped you get jacked, especially a jack bench. And just follow the link in the description. We have a full template on how to do the bench that we talked about today, but also a whole program, right, on benching to improve your bench, progress on your bench, and then hit PRs on your bench so you can post it on IG and tag us. So yeah, follow the link, get a jack bench, and see you guys next time.